Alright, so let me just paste the link right here. Close down this. I'm going to open up the stream real quick. Close down this. I'm going to open up stream real quick. Searching stuff for that. Close down this. I'm going to perfect. Alright. Stream real quick. Searching stuff for that. Close down this. Alright. Perfect. Alright. Real quick. Because I already know it's going to be hard to hear me. Close down this. Alright. So let's close down YouTube. Just wait for everything to start working real quick. Oh, I should probably edit the description too. Just so everybody knows. It's a bit more self-explanatory. Hey, let's like it too. Alright, edit this. On how to create custom plugins for NukkitX 2.0. NukkitX is a fully modular server software for Minecraft Bedrock edition that is open source and available to the only one G at two ends to end on how to set up and code custom plugins for your server. Plugins, NukkitX, NukkitX 2.0, Nukkit 2.0. That's basically it, I guess. Alright, let's just save that. Alright, so now that this is going and everything, let's start. So this is what we're going to be doing today. I plan on getting through all of this, like every single part here. This is kind of bugging me. So we're first going to start off with explaining what you're going to need to be able to do this. So a few things that you're going to need is, of course, a fully functional computer and Java or JRE installed, and some type of IDE. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be IntelliJ, BlueJ, Eclipse, whatever you want. And along with that, you're probably going to need Minecraft. It can be on this computer or a computer that's... It can be on any computer. You just need some version of Minecraft to be able to test your plugins. So let's look at the list real quick. So the first thing we're going to need is, we already did that, so let's explain what Nukkit is. Nukkit is an open source API that we can extend and build plugins off of to add to our Minecraft server, and it's an open source piece of software. That's really the gist of it. So I can show you guys the GitHub. We're going to be using the 2.0 branch because by the time I release this, or by the time everybody's starting to watch this, 2.0 is going to become more stable and is eventually going to take over the master branch. But there's not very many differences. You can kind of learn the main differences on your own if you want to learn 1.0. But that's just the gist of it. So yeah, so Nukkit is a nuclear-powered server software for Minecraft Pocket Edition. It has few key advantages over other server software written in Java, so you need to know some knowledge in Java. I would say up to about the intermediate level, and then yeah, it does have a friendly structure. I've been contributing quite a bit recently. So now that we know what Nukkit is, there's a few key sites that we're going to be referencing, and that's the GitHub page and NukkitX.com. So once you get to NukkitX, I recommend making an account. It's not really needed, but it's helpful. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to navigate over to this download page. So once you get to this download page, you're going to want to find Nukkit, which is right here, and you click on it, and that's going to take you to the branches of Nukkit. So there's all of these. The main ones that you'll primarily use is the master branch and the 2.0 branch, but we're going to be using the 2.0 branch because, like I said, we're going to be teaching this in 2.0. So when we click on the 2.0 branch, you just see the jar right here and click on it, and it'll automatically download it to your system. There's a possibility it might take a bit because sometimes our browsers decide to scan for viruses. There's a way to disable it. I'm just too lazy to do so. So while that's doing that, we're going to explain, and I already have IntelliJ IDEA opened up. IntelliJ is your main IDE that you should be using. So I use IntelliJ because it's more modern and there's more help online for it, and I just kind of like the theme of it overall. If you just set it up with the defaults, you should be fine. I'm not going to go too much in depth on how to set up IntelliJ except for the projects on hand that you're going to be creating. So sorry, there's a plane flying outside my house. So this is still scanning for viruses. Alright, now that that's passed, we kind of have a good idea of what Nukkit is. I'm assuming that you guys know what Nukkit is. There's a few key places that I should probably tell you guys how to navigate through the NukkitX website. It's pretty self-explanatory, but while we're waiting for this, it's probably a good idea. So we have the forums page. The forums page is where you post, of course, forums and everything, and things that you need help with, and if you want to find out how to do certain things, there's I wouldn't say most likely, there is a possibility that it can be inside of here. So the main one is Nukkit plugin development and Nukkit support. Nukkit plugin development is what you're going to want to post your plugin development questions and everything. So there's a lot of good questions in here. So like set eye height, block solid problem, tab completion, all this stuff. But that's the main portion of forums. You can look around in here and everything. Then we have the wiki. The wiki is currently in the works right now. There's not much on it, but like we can go to Nukkit and there's just some quick links. These are pretty important. But like, yeah, those are just some things that you're gonna want to do. But let's open up this tab because we're gonna need this later. So we also have the resources. This is where you can find plugins and download them for your plugins and everything. So we're not really going to do all this right now, but you can also post your own plugins on here. I've posted a few plugins on here, and it's always a good thing to give back to the community. Members, we don't really need to get into depth with that. And then download, there's a few things in here. Mainly, I already showed you guys that with Nukkit. And then status, once again, just one of those things where you can check the status of Nukkit and some of the servers. And then we have the Discord. This takes you to the Discord link and everything. And then donations. Donations, pretty self-explanatory. Alright, so now that we have Nukkit downloaded, let's minimize these real quick and create a new folder. And let's just call this folder Nukkit tutorial. And then I'm going to just drag my nukkit.jar right into this folder. So there's two ways to start up your Nukkit server. So I'm just going to I shouldn't have closed that. I'm stupid. Alright. So there's two ways to start up a Nukkit server. The first way that most people use is by creating a new .bat file. So let's just call this start. And then you just want to do @echo off java -jar nukkit.jar, and then you want to file save as all files, and you want to save it as start.bat. It's different if you're on Linux, but I'm going to be using Windows for this tutorial. I'm going to be using Windows for this tutorial. So there's some key differences, but the next way that I'm going to show you how to do it is for both Windows and Linux. I've zoned out just now. So now that you have clicked that, let's select our language. So ours in this case is n_US. So that's just going to set everything up, and it's that simple. I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's opening up the server. Alright, so now we have all of these files, and as you can see, this is a case by case thing, but if you open up Minecraft and just gotta wait for it to load. Here, let's show the first way, the other way to start up your server. So to stop your server, you type stop. But there's another way that I like to use more because I'm lazy when creating this start.bat, and I just open up git bash right here in our directory. And I just type, wait for it, it's logging into git bash. This all takes kind of a second on my computer sometimes. Alright, now that it's loaded, I just type java -jar nukkit.jar, and if you give it a few seconds, it'll start to load. This doesn't matter on your operating system. As long as you have Java installed in the path, this command will work, even if you're on Linux or Windows, or I don't know about Mac. I don't know why you would be using Mac and doing Minecraft Bedrock Edition development. But now that I have my server started up, you see it says 0.0.0.0 and 19132. I'm going to, so if you look here, sometimes the server is right here, and that works, I would say, 5% of the time. But in the event of you not being able to see your server here, you're gonna have to navigate to this forum page, where if you go to Nukkit support, this cannot connect to servers hosted on the same computer with Windows 10 edition. Now this is all that you have to type in Windows PowerShell and it'll work. So now I have my server right here. It's called it's local Nukkit 127.0.0.1 and if I connect to it, it'll show in the console player not found for that player, and then it'll say I am joining the server. And from here, not responding, huh? That's not good. All right, it's working. It's doing its thing, chugging along. It's still loading. In the meantime, there's, oh, well that wasn't very cash money. So I don't know why it decides to spawn me right in the middle of the ocean, but okay. I won't complain about it. So let's go over here to land real quick. And as you can see, I am indeed inside the server. So if I type op civil YT, I now am operator. And from here, I can execute commands like amode C, turn into creative mode. I can break blocks and everything, pick blocks, place blocks, it doesn't matter. So now that we have our server set up, let's let's shut down the server by typing stop. And let's start out stopping other threads. Just gotta wait for it a second. That happens sometimes. And then if you press enter, it'll just show some error. That I wouldn't worry too much about that. But sometimes this could corrupt your world, so I would be careful with it. So let's close down this and let's open up our IDE. So I already have my IDE opened up. So what we're gonna do is create a new project. It doesn't matter what version your IDE is, as long as it has Maven support, then this will work. Here, I'm also gonna close down Minecraft. So once you have opened up this in IntelliJ, there's going to be an option that says Maven. So I recommend clicking on that and then just pressing next and then naming it whatever you want. So I'm going to name this Nukkit Tut and I'm just going to press finish. And what this is doing, give it a second, is it just created a new file inside my NukkitX file, which wasn't the best thing, but it's fine. So here I'm going to navigate to this website. So once your IDE is loading, you want to just type in NukkitX Maven, the Maven repo, and this is inside of the wiki and not in the forums. So once you get this, just want to copy it and go back into your project. It says 4 processes running, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to wait for a second, let it do its thing. But automatically this file says it's called the pom.xml. Your pom.xml, so you can close right out of that. Your pom.xml holds all of the information for your dependencies and repositories. These are things that are going to be used inside of your code and things that you're going to be referencing. So in this case, if we're making a Nukkit plugin, we're going to be referencing the Nukkit API. If we're going to be referencing, or if we're going to be making a Gary's mod plugin, we're going to be referencing the Gary mod API, and so on and so forth. But if I just paste this into here, what I copied from that website, and press enable auto import, I can just, let me remove all these white spaces. It should, in theory, be importing our dependencies and repositories. So the issue that we're having with this is we're going to be using 2.0, not 1.0. So we got to change this over to 2.0.0, and then click the save, change that back, save, and it says resolving dependencies of NukkitTut. So let's talk about a few files that you see here. So we have the NukkitTut.iml. This is something that you should never touch in your .idea folder. Never touch these. These two, logically, they have no use to you except for your IDE. And then when you open up your source, this is mainly what you're going to be messing around with. You don't even need tests. So if you see this folder, just delete it. Delete the directory. And then we have main. And as you can see, inside of main, we have two files or folders, Java and resources. Inside of Java, this is where we're going to be holding all of our code. So now that I have these two folders, so let's create a few files. So we're going to create this thing called a package first. A package is basically a folder that is unique to your class files or your Java files or the files that hold your code. So what we're going to do is go to new package, and we're going to create this whatever you want, but the main syntax, or what you should be naming it, is a URL for you backwards. So in my case, it's going to be com.civilcode. And then the plugin name or the project name. So we're going to call this NukkitTut. And there we go. Now we have this package. So inside of these packages, we create these things called Java classes. Java classes hold code, as you might know if you do know Java. So we're going to create our main class file, but it is quite different from just normal Java main files. So instead of doing the standard public static void main string args, we aren't going to be doing that. We're going to be instead extending a class. So we're going to extend this class called plugin base. And what this is the main class for every single plugin has the plugin base folder or file. And what this does is it tells Nukkit, okay, this is the first thing that should happen when the server starts or when this plugin is loaded. So we're gonna do a few things in here. One of which is we're gonna press Alt Insert on our keyboard, which is it's the generate keybind, or we could do Tools. Is it Tools? or refractor. I'm not sure. I haven't ever done it that way. Oh no, it's code. Yeah, it's code, and what you're going to do is press override methods, and what this is going to do is give you this long list of stuff. So what we're going to do is click on enable, and then we're going to shift click to on command, and that's going to give you 5 of these functions. And if you press OK, it'll then generate these code, these methods. So we're not going to be using git command and git logger, so we can just delete these overall, and then just delete these. Alright, so now that we have done this, yeah, I can't increase my volume, my bad. Control O. Alright. So now that we have on enable and on disable and on command, we are going to be putting some code inside of these. So plugin base has a bunch of methods. Like here, I'm not sure if I can show you guys this. I might be able to if I use Alt Enter. No. Alright. I don't believe that I can in this. But if we go over to the GitHub and we go to source, main, Java, cn nukkit, and then we search for, find file, plugin base. We open this. There's all of these methods in here that we can use. Most notably is we're going to be extending on enable and on disable. And quite obviously, on enable is when the plugin is enabled, and on disabled, as you probably know, when the plugin is disabled. So from here, what we do is a number of things. So we could print out to the console using system.out, or we can use a method that is built into Nukkit natively. So this is called the logger. So git logger dot info, and we can print stuff from here straight to the console. Alright, so now that we have git logger done, let's say just hello world. Right now this won't do anything because, quite frankly, the plugin has no clue whatsoever what the main class is. I mean, I guess it could use some type of modifier or enum that would define this, but that isn't really logical. Or we could name it like a specific name. Once again, that's not logical. So what Nukkit decided to do was add, or it was Bucket originally, is add this file called the plugin.yml. So let's create a new file called the plugin.yml inside of resources. And inside of this, we're going to type a few things. So as you can see, we are right here out of all of this stuff already. So we're making some time already. So the first thing you want to do is make this field called name. And this is just going to be the name of your plugin. So name of your plugin. And let's name ours tutorial plugin. Alright. So now that we have the name, we're going to have to define what class is our main class. So how we do that is just by typing main. And then we have to get the exact file and package to that. So in my case, it's com.civilcode.nukkitut.main. So this is the path to your main class. Alright, and now we have another thing that we need to add. It's called the description. This isn't a mandatory thing, but it's always good practice to add this. So so let's comment this out. So this is the description of your plugin. And let's just call it simple tutorial plugin. Alright, and now we have one more thing that we need to add, and that's called the version. And the version is contained between two quotes, single quotes. So in our case, let's just call this 0.0.1 because we're still in alpha. So this is the version of your plugin. And then let's add another field. These, at this point, we're done. We don't have to add any more stuff. But you can continue to add these things for the sake of your plugin. So I'm going to create another field called author. And this is just going to be my name, so simple code. Author of the plugin. And then let's add one more thing, and let's call this API version. So this is contained in between these quotes, or these brackets, and then we add quotes inside of it. And this is the version of the API required to be able to, well, we can use API version still, Tal. But if you guys want, you can just do API. So we're going to be using the 2.0.0 branch because, of course, we're doing 2.0. So let's just call this the version of the API we are using. Alright, so now if we build this by adding an artifact, so if we do file, project structure, artifacts, add, jar from modules with dependencies, and we press OK, we now have this artifact. So I like to add the output directory to the desktop or the file. So here, let me find it real quick. It's desktop. Where is it? Oh no, it's not. It's not in the NukkitX. It's, what did I name it? Nukkit tutorial. Yes, Nukkit tutorial plugins. So we just click right here, press OK, and then we press apply. And now if we press OK, we can press this button, the build project button, but I prefer to just do build artifacts, build. And what this is doing is turning our code into a jar file that can be read through the Java virtual machine. So if I go, so when this is building, we always want to press these two little pluses called refresh. It's building. Alright, it's built. So now if we go to Nukkit tutorial, and let's just open up a new git bash window, or we could use our start command, either one. And we say java -jar nukkit.jar. We give it a second. Tao, just calm down. It says in our tutorial plugin, it says hello world. So this piece of code had ran. So let's give it some colors. To add colors, we use this fancy class called text format. So text format has a bunch of different colors in it that Minecraft and the console alike understand. So what we're going to use, let's just do green. So text format.green. And you press plus, and here we go. Now if I build artifacts, build. Let's just stop our server real quick. And then we start it back up. Give it a second. It says hello world in green. Or if you really want to get fancy, you can just use the color code, which is Alt0167 to type the weird S or the symbol character, and you type A or whatever color code that you want. So if I just search up Minecraft bedrock color codes and go to my images real quick, we have all of these colors that you can use. So let's just say I want to make it green. So I'm going to do SA. And then if I build this, stop it. And then just go back, start the server again. You can now see that it does the exact same thing. So there's many different ways that you can use this to your advantage. I personally like using text format more because it leads to cleaner code, but it's all up to you. So let's look at the next part. We have the plugin.yml and plugin base done. So let's get into configs and configuration files and all that stuff. So when you first start out, you could make a new file called config.yml inside of your resources. An example of what a config would be used for is configuring specific variables, like if you should use a specific color, if you should log certain events, if you should do this. It's just up to you. It's up to the person using the plugin, and that allows you to easily configure people's plugins and what people want using your plugin, if that somewhat makes sense. I'm really bad at explaining it, but to get the main config or the default config, config.yml, we just type git config, and that'll store it into a config variable. So let's just make a new config variable real quick. Let's see, Nukkit utilities config is equal to get config. And let's just remove this. Let's say we have a boolean stored inside of our config.yml, and this is called log hello world, and it's set to true. We can get this by using boolean bool is equal to config dot get boolean, and now the key is the name of the plugin, or the name, not the name of the plugin, the name of the variable. So in this case it's log hello world. So we're just going to copy and paste this right here and put that in there. So from here we're going to just print out the, no, we're going to do get logger.info of bool, and that's going to print out the value of bool, but we can't do it that way, so we're going to have to, of course, convert it to a string. So now that we have that done, there's a few things that could go wrong in this situation. First off, your configuration file isn't created by default unless you run this method. So this method is this.saveDefaultConfig, and or you don't even have to add this. You can just do save default config. And what this is going to do, here, let me put this at the very beginning just so we can really emphasize this. So what save default config does is if the configuration file inside of your plugins folder doesn't exist already, it will create a new configuration for it. So what this is doing is whatever you have inside of here, it'll just copy and paste that inside of your plugins folder, and then it loads it, gets the configuration, gets all of the values from it, and then you get a boolean called that from the configuration. So in that case it's log hello world, and then we're going to just print the value of it. So if we did everything right, it should print out true. So if we build this, stop the server real quick. We start it back up. Our plugin said true, because if we go to this, we go to plugins, notice how we have a folder called tutorial plugin, and we have a file called config.yml. So here, let me open this up with Notepad real quick and show you guys the contents of it. And of course it says true, but yeah, I'm not going to get into that. So we can do a lot of things with this. So we can add some functionality to this. So if bool, or let's call this instead log hello world. We can now do log hello world, and if this is true, then of course get logger.info alt0167a hello world. And you don't need to add this space. I don't know why I did. And now if I build this, and I stop this, and then run it again. It should, in theory, be making use of our hello world boolean. So now, let's say I go into our configuration, so open with Notepad, and I set this to false, save the file, and then I stop the server, and then I start it back up. Notice how this is false. So if I wait, it doesn't say hello world because the value is false. So there's so many things that you can get with this, including int random integer from config is equal to config.getInt, and let's say the integer name is random int. It'll check to see if there's an integer inside of the config. We can do a few other things with this, like if config.exists and check if a key exists. If config.set, we can set values, so let's do that real quick. So after we do this, we can do config.set. Let's call it log hello world equal to false. So bam, right away we have something that will check if something is true. If it is true, then, so like look, gets the config right here. So here, let's comment this out. Gets the config. Now stores the boolean log hello world, and then checks if we should log hello world sets log hello world to false inside the config. So right off the bat, this value should equal false when we finish building and everything. So here, let's do that real quick. I accidentally opened that. Hello world, and now if we close this and then we open it right back up let's just do it this way. I have a lot of windows open. That's the main one that we need open. And I just open this with Notepad. Oh, that's weird. It still says true. Oh, I think I have to run the config.save method. So config.save. And what this is going to do is successfully set the value. I did a more in-depth tutorial on configurations and all of that stuff on the forums. So I'll have that down in the pinned comments after this is finished if you guys want to go more into depth with configurations and how to use those effectively. But we got to move on from configs and get a bit into events. So what is an event? So an event is, of course, everybody knows what an event is. So, like let's say I snap my fingers. Snap my fingers, that's an event. I eventfully snap my fingers, I don't know. Or I clap. Let's just say every time I clap, I want a piece of code to run. And then a piece of code runs, and then I just keep clapping, and code keeps running over and over and over and over again every single time I clap. That's the same thing in Minecraft, where you have these events that allow us to take in-game actions and run code based on these actions. So these events are what Minecraft plugins are built off of. So let's create a new, first off, let's just comment this out. Alright, so now that we have the configuration side of stuff commented out, let's create a new package inside of our package, and let's call it events. And this is where we're going to store some of our events. So let's just make a new event. Like let's say whenever a player jumps. That's a good one. I'm not sure if player jump event is a thing. It most likely is. But let's just say on player jump. And this needs to implement this class called listener. And what this is going to do is allow us to easily register our class, and from there it's going to allow us to easily register this class, and from there get all of the events inside of it and all of the methods and when they should run, and easily do that action. So like the title states, we should do when a player jumps. So what we're going to be doing is creating a new method, and we're just going to call this public void on jump, and let's make it player jump. So no, player. So let's look through all of these. I believe jumping is actually a move event. So that was a horrible example. Toggle glide event. That might be it. I'm not sure. I don't do this. I don't mess with jump events and all that. So let's get the next best thing. So player sneak. Toggle sneak event. Is there toggle? I believe it. Yeah, it might be one of these two. But let's just do toggle sneak event, and let's call it event. So here, let me refactor this class real quick. Refactor, rename, and let's call it on player sneak. And then on sneak. So this standing alone isn't going to work because we need to do two things. First off, we need to register the events method using event handler. So we do this annotation above our method that is calling the above the method that is the event that we're going to be using, and we type event handler. at event handler. So what this is doing is telling the parent listener class, or parent, whatever you want to call it, parent event handler, that this method should be ran when this event happens. So from here, we're going to register this class as a listener, as an event listener. So on enable, we want to do get server dot get plugin manager dot register events, and then we want to make a new instance of our listener class. So in this case, it's on player sneak, on player sneak, and the plugin, in this case it's the main class that we're in, so we're just going to type this, and there we go. Now whenever a player sneaks, whatever happens inside, or whatever is inside of this method, runs. So on this occasion, we're just gonna store a player, which is, this is right along on the next part. We're gonna do player is equal to event dot get player. So right off the bat, if you do event dot, there's so many things in here, like is canceled, set canceled. We can cancel the event. We can do all sorts of things, not directly, but we can check if the player is still sneaking. So in this case, we're doing event.getPlayer, so we're getting the player that is sneaking. So from here, we can do actions with this player. So this is the next part. We can do things like player dot, and there's all of these things that we can do to it. We're just gonna do the most simple, send message. So we're gonna send the message, you just started sneaking. So the problem with the sneak event is it'll double fire sometimes. So when you sneak, it will start, and then when you unsneak, it'll also fire the event. So this isn't really the best thing or best method that you should be using, but it still works. So now that we have this done, if we build our code and we stop the server real quick, ugh. Still building. Alright, it's just finished. And then we start up our server just as soon as that finishes. Alright. I think it's notable that I can finally close that window. And let's open up Minecraft, because we're going to actually be joining the server for this. So the server is loaded, and while Minecraft loads, let's just check this out. Alright, so now that Minecraft is opened, let's join our server. In my case, it's called local Nukkit. As you can see, it shows that I joined the server. Alright, Let's just run around real quick. Now look, when I just sneak, is that event broken or something? That's odd. Oh no, the server's messed up or bugged or something. It's gonna start sending me messages in a second. For some reason the Nukkit has been doing this a bit lately. There we go. Now it's sent me a bunch of messages. So let's just give it a second to clear those messages from the chat. And now if I sneak, it starts spamming me with messages. So next time, should probably give it a second to catch up. Alright, so regardless to say, we have successfully used our events, and from here we can do so many things using the player. Basically anything that you can imagine or any game function, we can use it. So player.teleport, player.give items, player.set game mode, player these aren't exact methods or anything by any means, but let's just start with a pretty notable one, which is player dot what's a good one? Player.effect. So we can give them an effect, or here, let's actually use the give effect method, not the get effect method. So let me fix that I just messed up. So it's player.add effect, and we get an effect by doing effect.getEffect, which is an effect dot whatever effect you want. So in this case, let's give them blindness every time they sneak, and then from here we can add more and more modifiers to it, like so player.getEffect, that returns the effect, set amplifier, set duration. So let's set the duration for 10 seconds, or no, that's ticks. So to do seconds, we would have to do 20 times 10, or 200, because there's 20 ticks in a second. So from here, let's build this real quick. And let's quit the world. Let's stop the server. Let's refresh this. Let's start the server. Alright, server is started. Let's join the server. seem to be noticing that I'm joining a server. So here, let me stop the server real quick. It is kind of buggy sometimes. In this case, let's just delete the world. In the resource packs, and the players, and the logs. We can keep the nukkit.yml in the ops. We can actually keep all this. Let's just delete that too for the sake of it. And let's just open up a new bash window here. Let's open Minecraft back up. Start the server back up. All right. Server is finished. It's back up. Oh no. I joined the world on accident. I think I've broken my game. Alright, and let's join local Nukkit. It's saying that the player data wasn't found for me. Oddly enough, it's teleporting me 128 blocks above surface. Plays a pretty interesting role in all of this. And as you can see, if you don't determine a seed for it, it just decides to give you this default world. And it is pretty buggy when you first join right now. But let's swim over to the surface. Alright, everything seems to be working, and now if I shift, I now have blindness. And if we open up this, so if I go here, shows that I have 9 seconds technically when I opened up the window, but I'm not perfect. So we have 10 seconds of blindness. And that is perfect for this. We can add so many more things with this, like what is the next thing on the list? So, oh, level. Just perfect. So there's another thing that we can be doing, which is teleporting a player. So let's say I want to teleport a player to a location. A location is essentially just 3. So here, let's take a location. For example, we have a coordinate system in Minecraft automatically. So right now we are at 579.76. An example of a locations would be 0, 1, 0. There's 10,000 or whatever, 64. Any of those are locations, but if you notice, all of them have 3 values. So we use these things called vector 3s. Vector 3s are basically, we can't create a new one because it's private, but what we can do is, I believe, 3f dot or wait, it's location dot from, yeah. We can do a lot of things with these. Yeah, location dot from, including teleporting a player. So a vector 3 works exactly like this. So what we can do is input 3 values, and from those 3 values we can store these into one variable, and that's what a vector 3 is. That's what a vector overall is. So an example of a vector 3, like I said, would be a location. A vector 2, which is 2 points or 2 values in one variable, would be a position on a 2D graph, so like 0, 0, 0, 1. There's also, yeah, I'm about to get into that, Tal. You can do, there's many things that you can do, but the most notable that we use is a vector 3 f dot from, and from here we define 3 values. So let's say we want to teleport to 10,000 80 10,000. We can just type that, and then if we build the plugin, stop the server, do this, start the server.
Josh.
1 second.
Okay, can we need some tacos while they're hot?
I will. Alright, server is up. Join the server. Tal, shut up. So the server's pretty laggy right now. Just gotta wait a second. Alright, so now if I shift, it will tell me that I'm sneaking, and as you can see on my coordinates right here, that I am indeed at 10,000, 10,000, but it's having to load the chunks. And oh wow, found a village. So let's set the world spawn here. And of course I'm getting some errors because set world spawn isn't exactly implemented yet. and it's kind of laggy again. But there's still some minor bugs. I meant to say found a jungle. My bad. Hey, look at that. We love that. But there's a few bugs that still need to be fixed in Nukkit 2.0, but it's a work in progress. Gotta stay positive. But as you can see, there is a jungle there. I'm gonna set my game mode to creative just so it stops doing that to me. But, yep, now when I shift, it'll give me blindness and teleport me to 10,000, 10,000. You can also do things like get inventory, unique ID, get level, get the server that they're playing on, get their IP address, I believe. Get button text, that is the text, I'm not sure what that does. Get chunk manager, that's a new feature, I believe. Get client secret, ooh, never used that before. Get crafting grid, yeah, that's this little thing right here. Cursor inventory, there's so much that you can do with the player, and I'm not going to go into depth with all of that, but that's just 3 prime examples of things that you can do. So now that you guys know exactly how the players work, there is a few things with levels, like setting blocks, registries, which is the newest feature and everything, items, blocks, inventories, compound tags, and then entities. Not going to do that in this stream because I gotta take a little bit of a break. But in the next stream, I'm going to go a little bit more into depth on some more of these features and finish up the rest of this. So yeah, there's going to be a part 2 coming out probably tomorrow. For anybody that is watching this, it'll probably be out the day that you are watching it. So look for the part 2. And guess that's it. Don't know what else to say on this. Good luck on your coding, and if there is any questions, feel free to ask me on Discord. Discord is this. So, yep. Have any questions at all, and I'll answer them. That's awkward. I hate these. I hate outros.